young 24-year-old girl who was trying to see something. So I think I didn't have anything to lose. So I just went into their office and say, well, these are my credentials. Do you want somebody like me? Because I did not have any kind of you know understanding or knowledge of that market that time in comparison to my product. It's not easy for a woman to charter her own course and being a trailblazer in something that traditionally people think it's not a woman's place to be.
So Deepa is the founder and CEO of Orchids Lux Home, one of the biggest home decor wholesalers in the US. Deepa's journey started about 40 years back as a two people operation in a garage. And from there, she's now the CEO of Orchids Lux Home, which I think ships to pretty much all 50 states of the United States. They also sell their goods in Canada and Mexico. Deepa's journey is, of course, phenomenal. But I think with an added twist that the cards were always stacked against her. She's still a business leader in a male dominated industry. I don't want to give away all the cool things about Deepa. I think her story is for her to share. So I'd like to welcome Deepa to Barriers to Break. It is fantastic to have you here, and we're excited
Thank
to
you
hear
so
it.
much. I really am very thankful and grateful to your team, Divanshu, and yourself for having bring this up in front of the world. It's a true honor. Thank you so much. So I would say the first name that comes to me why I started it is for survival. uh, I think survival at that time was the first word that came to my head. Hey, what are you going to do with your life? You're not a doctor, you're not an engineer, you're not a computer engineer, you've not been to an IIT, so what do you do? Okay? And you are an Indian Marwari girl, a Bania girl. So that kind of can diffuse actually everything. That's enough to diffuse everything. But then there's a light, I think, a light of internal light that tells you, you have the fire. Go out in the world, tread out in the world, and see what's possible. So I saw I was always very fond of textiles, the best ways to go what you loved as a child because that's so unconditional. You don't
Yeah.
calculate that. So my unconditional love for fabrics was natural and over there, and that was the first ingredient of, as they say, SWOT analysis. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And okay, I love fabrics and I know where to get them. And let me try if I can be good with people and I can learn because I am a commerce graduate. So those things were the key ingredients that let me kind of anchor myself into. I love homes. I just love homes because I feel that is one place that keeps our heart, mind, family, emotions, you know, in peace. Uh,
And so, Deepa, how long back was this? So, tell us when was your first foray into entrepreneurship, and tell us a little bit about your surroundings and the environment around you at that time.
so I got my first break with the government of India, who were having a buyer seller meet in Milan, Italy, and
Wow.
I happened to see that ad in a Hindustan Times paper, that they are helping and supporting women entrepreneurs to be able to participate in this buyer seller meet in Milan. Now, that really gave me the kick, why not? But I was not an entrepreneur at that time. I was an aspiring, young 24-year-old girl who was trying to see something. So I think I didn't have anything to lose. So I just went into their office and say, well, these are my credentials. Do you want somebody like me? You know, well, I think it was my time and I was directed to go and showcase a certain uh, uh, kind of a product which was more traditional at that time, because everybody in the world was aspiring to get Indian textiles,
Okay.
yeah, our traditional cultural uh, textiles. So that was easy because it was available. That's our country. So, we have it all over the place. So we just had to put it together and create a new composition of that in a way that would appeal to that Western market. And of course, there was a lot of stake because I did not have any kind of understanding or knowledge of that market that time in comparison to my product.
Got it. And is this the first time that you traveled abroad, or were you well traveled
Yeah,
before?
no, no. Well, I had a lot of exposure to the Western geography,
Okay.
especially because of my reading, and also because I got a chance to travel with my parents, when I was younger. And I think
Got it.
being brought up in South Delhi and, having an education the way I had my education, never had me in awe of that, the Caucasian society. So, you
Got
know,
it.
so I've never suffered from that.
Got it.
Uh,
So you got your first break in Milan. Somebody
exactly.
asked you to put together a collection and take it there, and then what did you do? What was your first step? I think everything else would have been something that you had to figure out along the way. I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what happened because, as they say, you just need, even if you've got to go to the moon, you just need the first step. You need, there's a one step to it. So Milan just proved to be luckiest, Italy, and uh, appreciation of what I took even to a smaller business community of that was enough for me to get a start off, because that would lead to other things and other things and other things.
Yeah. And Deepa, what life stage were you in at that time? Were you like, what was the environment around you, and how did people around you react to you saying that I want to try this out?
So I'm sure many women, even not only in India but around the world at different stages, would agree with me that it's not easy for a woman to charter her own course and being a trailblazer in something that traditionally people think it's not a woman's place to be. That's why we get reservations. We just got reservations, right? Why do you get that? You
Yeah.
get that because there's a mentality existing that this particular gender is not good enough other than having married, raising babies, and being a housewife.
And this
uh,
we're talking about in 1980s, where I think the world was very different from what it is today.
yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to break in those that shell of not believing in you, or not even supporting that vision which a woman would have. you know Whether you talk about Kalpana Chawla's story, whether you talk about any woman who has achieved something in their own fields, they've always had that problem,
Yeah.
because it was predominantly, uh, it existed at that time. Even today it exists, but
Yeah.
not in the proportion to the society that we belong to.
Definitely.
That is why I hope that this would inspire women, especially, to not to be scared, not to be fearful. And if you have a vision for yourself, please come up and start doing things and initiate your own education, your learning, your talents, your passions, even if the world is totally against you, because this is the same world which will be for you when you have run that marathon and you have won it.
That's a very inspiring message to send. So, After the Milan thing happened, right? You went there, you probably got a spark, you felt like you can do this. Maybe it was the first boost of confidence for you that, this space is for you. What was the next step? Like,
So,
how?
the first gear of the car, it was my first gear of the car. I couldn't stop it. I went to another, I went to another, I went to another. I got the taste of it. I started learning things. I made a lot of mistakes because I was unaware of the way the industry works. And the industry was also in its very initial stages at that time. The export industry, I would not say it was as, yeah, strong as it is today. There were some women who had come. And I think as a woman, in India, we as girls are used to getting our own clothes made, having a say in the way we want our dresses to look like. We are very opinionated women.
Yeah, yeah,
You would have seen that. And I think that opinion helped me to be very uh, critical of myself in terms to the market that I was going to uh, make that product for.
got it, got
So
it.
yeah, because that's the most important thing, because it's a market you're developing. And first, the first thing that is very important is who is your customer, who is your target customer, what are the price points, what are their demographics. And if you can get into their psychoanalysis and keep understanding that over the years, that is going to make your company more powerful, because it will always create products that is directly targeted to that mindset.
Makes sense. Yeah. So knowing your customer, as you said,
Yes.
is the most important part of entrepreneurship, and it trumps almost everything else. Or
Yeah.
everything else you can probably figure
First
out
is the
along.
fire in your belly.
Yeah.
Second is identification of uh, the business or services that you want to impart. And third is the demographic and the customer identification. And then creating a whole system so that you can do what is needed to be done to take that to the next, which will be growth, and branching out and adding more SQs, or could also be diversifying into something as furniture, which we have just done. The diversification and furniture happened because of the textile. It led us to that because they are very associated products. The next thing could be a wall decor. You know, it could be anything. Actually, it will encompass uh, products and articles which will enhance our textiles, and then furniture, and then maybe floors. And we are actually also planning interior designers to have on board, who will help and support people in their vision of combining the products that we have to offer, which will give them a much easier time to do up their homes and their own spaces.
Got it. Got it. I think we'll go much deeper into the Orchids Lux home offering, and how all of that came together. I think just sort of going back to the 90s, and when you started your first business, so that was an exports business. So you were manufacturing
Yes.
products in India and you were exporting them, I'm assuming, all over the world.
Yeah.
What,
So
and
I did hire some foreign designers, you know, who were used to that kind of a culture, because we did have limitation in those times, because it was not easy to get on a Pinterest or Google some
yeah,
ideas and names, or scan pictures and get it in a second at your desk. So we had to use a lot of our brain power and memory power, and um, I don't think I think today, nowadays, you have the memory in your phones and computers. I don't think the mind memory is diminishing.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was a very different time, and I can't remember the world before Google. So I get what you're saying there.
But it teaches you well.
Yeah.
It teaches you
Uh,
well because it creates a very strong roots, you know. As they say, if you know how to fish, doesn't matter if you don't have a fish on the table because you know how to fish.
got it.
So,
Got it.
so it gave us that, and then from there, the distance, or it kept narrowing down to what they wanted and what we had to offer. Because as a foreign company, and as I have not been brought up in the West, I understand India. So when you're trying, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it's for their homes, you got to connect to your customer. You know, I'm sure you do that with your own IT. You know,
Yeah.
so you kind of you know that, and then when you do that, the chances of one's failure would reduce so much. But there could be challenges of other things, but not of the failure of your product.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Makes sense. I think on that very topic, right? So one thing phenomenal about your journey is the sheer length of it, right? So you've been doing this for about 30 years now. And as you said, knowing customers,
1986. 1986.
and as you said, knowing your customers is like the key ingredient of building a
Yeah,
sustainable business.
customers, market, demographics, you know, all
So tell me
combined.
how the customer expectations have changed in the last 30 to 40 years that you've been in the industry. What do customers expect today? And I'm not just looking for in terms of products, but in terms of overall buying experience, overall, how have relationships between vendors and customers evolved?
A lot of socio-economic factors have played a big role in that expectation, you know. Not only my customers and me and you also. If we talk about 1980s, you know, the supply was less, the demand was coming up, you know. So that was their reaction. If they saw something that they needed, they would take it, they would store it. uh, Socioeconomic factors are also the availability of the products to those particular countries, because it would be very difficult. It will be very different from somebody like India to them, or you know, Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. Again, individually. I won't put India into the same category of them, but I'm talking of the world by and large.
Yeah.
So here, because I sell in the United States of America and Canada and Mexico, is I'm going to talk more about that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's yeah. So I think the competition has grown, and on the online shopping has made a complete difference in the expectations of the people over the years. So I would generally put it in like four different time zones. 80s, people in 30s, 40s, they were family people. They were setting up houses, traditional parents. Then there's a house separation, you know, they're not living with their parents anymore, so they want more. China became predominantly big because something like Walt Disney and Nintendo and you know, Barbie and everything came into their homes. So it was more a time of show, you know, we need to show and indulge into brand names. Then came the time when they started understanding the value of organic sustainability. If you would go in the 90s, you would not hear these words.
Yeah.
The whole organic sustainability, you know, let's go buy organic vegetables. It started coming. Many people were not in it. They thought it was just a farce. But then many who were realizing that. So, you know, some people became vegan. It means they wanted that veganism or organic uh, produce to be in their uh, routine way of life, which also mean their clothes and especially their bedding, you know. And then comes the whole line. Then comes Amazon and Wayfair, and they blast the wall with cheaper stuff and you know, more stuff, and for the millennials. So that changed the customer mind. But what didn't change is a need and an aspiration for a great product, which was always there. That never changed.
Mm.
And especially I saw after the World Trade Trust fell, you know, and there was a revival of the family, 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 you know. You'd lost your near and dear ones, you'd seen something happening in such a huge country which associates to all the rest of the world as the most powerful country, and people became more closer. And when they became more closer, the family life became important. And as soon as the family life becomes important, the home becomes important. And then we become important. We become more important. Because then they were looking for something that would be sustainable, organic, beautiful, easy maintenance, aesthetically great. So people were moving away from that artificial show off. The hippie era had ended in the early 80s. So that was the second difference. And then COVID again, we saw a little bit of that trailer happening after COVID or during COVID, when again we all lost so many friends, people all around the world. World Trade Center was still something very in a country. I mean, a lot of us were affected, no doubt. But COVID was with everyone. It affected everyone at the root cause. Again, the families became important, and we were spending much more on our homes, on the comfort of our homes, luxury because we were spending time. The couches sold the most in the COVID time. You know that? There were
Yeah.
no couches left. It was the couch time. And
Yeah.
yeah, so furniture and textiles and everything in a home is that is what your personality is. It's the comfort. Sometimes it's not about the investments that you make on it. It's about what kind of a comfort and ease of living with it gives of you know and that is what my concern always it is, because I am the person for whom the ease of life would definitely be much more than just kind of um, spreading it as a artificial ego and arrogant takeoff from my life.
Got it. And then how does that whole philosophy flow into your products at Orchids Lux Home? Tell us a little bit about the brand, and what thoughts are you putting into when you're building new products and crafting new creations?
Affordable luxury, biodegradable, organic to the best possible. It's made for the whole family. There is a collection there that is available to the whole. Like, there's a family restaurant. We are a family textile company.
Got it. That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. So, whenever you go to a family restaurant, there'll be more chatter and jabber and, okay?
Yeah.
Uh, that's life, right? And when you go to a Michelin star, usually you find it's a couple or a corporate, you know, trying to spend maybe $1,000 on one person. But I'm telling you, most of them, they go back home and they have a meal.
Yeah.
But when you go to a family restaurant, everybody comes home satisfied.
That I mean, that's a very good analogy. Like that's a very interesting way to think about uh, the textile business altogether. So just going back a little bit into your story, right? So you were running an exports business out of India, manufacturing in India, exporting it to the rest of the world, and then I think Orchids Lux Home is a wholesale company. You
Yeah.
know you have warehouses in the US where you stock goods, and so what made you make that transition? What was it something coming from the customers, or was it something else that made you sort of change your business model over the years?
Thank you, Divanshu, that's asking Fima that question, because it was an entirely a decision that changed the course of the company's life. Usually we have companies in India or countries like China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Philippines, who are producing services and goods for the Western countries, because they are not producing anymore, or they're producing in a very, very smaller percentage,
Yeah.
because we all know the economic structure. Way back in the 2000, when that financial, when the Lehman Brothers and Goldman Sachs and the whole financial problem happened there, that was the time I realized that I cannot put all my eggs in the same basket, because ours is a very capital intensive industry,
Hmm.
a highly capital intensive, because it's a product that you have to make. It means, it's everything, you
Yeah.
know. And if you want to grow more in it, I think it should be limited for someone like me, because it's not like an automobile industry. It's not like an IT industry. Uh, I say IT because IT, you guys can grow into X, into 10, into 100, because there is no product. Like Amazon has grown, I don't know, a billion
Yeah.
times.
It's more
But
scalable. It's software, so it's more scalable. You
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah, exactly.
reduce it. Yeah.
The scalability in our trade, for what it is very limited to the capital investment that you do. And then you're
Absolutely.
also dependent upon the economy of another country for their buying capabilities, which could be great, and you have increased your capital uh, investment by, let's say, another 30% or 40%. But you cannot have the break even in the same year or two. You
Yeah.
invest for at least a 5-year period generally. So I felt that crunch in my own company. We had over 1,000 people working, straight up. We had a vertical unit. And I realized that I'm working harder and harder, because it's also very labor intensive.
Yeah.
It's capital intensive, it's labor intensive. So, uh, and with your next generation, uh, born in the IT era, you guys don't have a product. The only thing you have is a little phone. I think Samsung has gone smaller in it now. We have a wallet phone now, and so with the whole AI thing, you guys do not like product. You don't like burdens. You don't like baggages.
Yeah.
So how would the second generation continue doing this? Because this is all about product. This is all about uh,
It's
physical
about
product.
operations, manufacturing excellence.
And also it's fashion.
It's a fashion.
It's
Yeah.
fashion. And bedding is not just bedding. Bedding is also very fashion,
Yeah.
like interiors. It's inspired by colors. It's inspired by how you feel. It's inspired by, you know, um, the kind of houses you have. Many things inspire that. So I said, okay, let this continue, and let us branch out into having our own distribution there, having our own presence there. And because, over the years, my understanding of that country had become better and better, I think that was what came in handy.
Got it. And
And
you felt
also,
more confident about getting into distribution because you over the years had developed that customer instinct. Like you knew what the customers want, and you felt comfortable.
yeah, I put all that knowledge, no, all that exposure, all that knowledge, all that sixth sense, all that intuition, all that you know research. But in this, my husband, Nalan Jain, Dr. Nalan Jain, he's been very instrumental into having these things happen. Because okay, I have a vision. I visualize a lot. I know I can sit all day and come up with ideas. I don't know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not that good. But yes, you have a vision of seeing how you want to be. And I think as an Indian women, you know how, when you want to succeed, yeah, why not us? Why can't we get an Oscar? you know you know what the feeling is.
Yeah.
Why can't we get an Oscar? Why can't we get a Nobel Prize? Why can't we do this? Why can't we win a World Cup? So I think it comes from the deepest gut of your identity, you know, that makes
Got
you
it.
want those things. I don't have a name for it, but I know this is what it translates into.
So,
So why not have my own business in the United States? So that's it. And
but
Nalin said, yes, I'm there with you.
and that's a very gutsy move, right? Like because you're, I think in the startup world we call it a pivot. So you're pivoting your business model. You have 1,000 people working for you in a very different setup, and now you are charting a entirely new path, and a lot of what you had before probably starts seeming like baggage. So tell me a little bit about that journey, right, of making this business transition. You had such a large workforce, and then I think setting up a brand is a completely different skill set as well. So talk a little bit
Is
about
it?
those challenges and
Is it?
what.
I don't think so.
Okay, you don't.
No, I don't think so because in this day and today, I mean, you ask an 18-year-old, even a 13-year-old, he's making an app. That's brand. Everything you do to make it known to people at the right time, at the right space, so that you can make it a 10x or a 100x. That's a brand, isn't it? Brand is something that people know and associate with its qualities or its characteristics or its availability, and then they use it in their daily lives and also recommend it to others. So I think it was a very natural thing for it to happen because I'm a person of today, and I was seeing, how there's a brand like Zara, there's a brand like H&M. Or what are these brands? It's not something that they have is different. Nobody has different things. I mean, they have a different mix. Everybody's doing that, and there's some. So, but you have to market your product in a way where you can have more customer base related to that particular product and use it in their life and recommend it, and that would make it a brand. I can't make a brand.
Makes
I can
sense.
think of it, the if I have to bring it to the people to make it a brand.
Makes sense. No, I mean that's. I think I am really enjoying this conversation because you have a very simple way of. You have a way of simplifying these complex, like business school terms that we hear all the time, and you have a very simple way of putting them into the real world context.
One of the persons that I follow, and I it's very interesting. The best product does not sell more than the best known product. So which is the product that sells the most in the whole world? We all know that. I'm not going to take any names, but we all know the drink that sells the most. But then is the question, is it the best? So if you can let the people know about the best product that you have, why would it sell more? Why won't more people enjoy it? Why won't more families enjoy it? Why won't more married couples enjoy it? Why won't they afford? Why won't the old people who feel, you know, why won't they enjoy it? Why won't the hospitality have something better that's washable, affordable? And when a person checks in a hospital, in a hotel, the first thing they do is you see any movie or you see yourself. The first thing is you put your bag and you go thump on the bed.
Yeah, yeah,
What's that?
yeah.
The psychology of that, putting the door, just closing the door, putting the stuff in, and you go on the bed. You want a good sheet, you want a good bedding, you want to be with it for the next 8-10 hours of your life. So that needs to be the best.
Makes sense. Got it.
I don't know.
Um, and Deepa, I think one of the things that I would maybe love for you to go into is a little bit more detail on um, is the challenges that you probably faced. And you did talk about the time 80s, 90s. It was a very different time, and I'm imagining you had to go talk to vendors to give you products. You're just starting up itself is very difficult. Like everybody, they're just questioning your business model, and nobody wants to take a risk sort of dealing with you. Plus at that time, when it is a male dominated industry, for you to sort of go there and say that, hey, I'm going to start an export business, take fabrics from you. India is not exporting yet, but you were early to that game as well. So I think I'd love to know like the kind of reactions you got, some of the difficult moments you had, or life changing moments that you had along the way, or experiences, good or bad.
I don't care about them. On the face of it, I never cared about them. Maybe I shed a tear or two when I came back home at my office desk.
Hmm.
I'm not going to show them my weakness. Not at all. Good, they gave me those challenges. I'm grateful to all of them, and thank you, whoever is listening. Thanks for bringing those challenges to me. I am a stronger person now. I swam my way. The currents were high. I could have been slower. It was hot. It was cold. It was people judging me. The only thing I can say is I probably never cared.
And where do you think that attitude comes from? Of not getting deterred. Where did you learn that in the course of your sort of journey?
I think we all have it in us when we are born, and we all have it. It's just that we realize it sooner or later. And we realize it more at the time when the survival is a question, your self respect is a question, your passion to have your own identity in the society, socio-economic structure is a fire in your belly. I think that just keeps that fire going. I don't know the proportion in which I had it, but maybe I had a seed of it. I'm sure I had a seed in it. And everything else was the manure and the water and the sunshine that was helping it grow.
Got it. So I think just moving on, I know that every few years you like to put yourself through a new challenge, and you love to put yourself in uncomfortable situations as you've done over
No,
the
no,
last.
no. No, no, let's not say uncomfortable. My most uncomfortable situation will be when I am not going to think of anything and do something. We
Yeah.
have so many examples of people, and well, I'm fine. I'm healthy enough, uh, and Why should you stop? Charai veti, why
Yeah.
should we stop? Is there a reason to stop? And I
No,
think
absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
I have more fun and more dinners and more outings and more travel because I work.
absolutely. So, what does the next decade look for Orchids Lux Home? Like, what's your big project now or big vision now for the company?
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The world is growing, we are growing, and I just attended a lecture by Mr. Larry Summers where he said the world is on fire, uh, which meant, according to him, about the whole organic and sustainability products uh, in our world economy. I'm already there, right?
Yeah.
G20 was about that because there's so many documentaries now in every area where there's so much emphasis on the whole environmental health of our globe, of our earth, of this blue earth that we have. But I was already there. We are already producing organic. We use cottons, linens, you know, natural fibers, as you say. So I feel that, if you're already ahead of that race or that sentiment or that thought process or that commitment to your world, then you can actually take a leap faster than someone else who has to go back and
Yeah.
redo the same.
Yeah.
I'm not in a competition. I would like to grow with my products, which are sustainable, organic, and are environmental friendly in a way that they are used and is causing no harm to our Mother Earth. So that is one thing that our whole team is very, very bent upon, not to let anything come up, even it means a commercial profitability. So we will increase our profitability by introducing more SKUs, more categories, and more product areas, such as we have done with furniture. So that's one area, yes.
So it's about sort of deepening your commitment to sustainability, where you're already early to the market, and then it came from I think a deeper motivation, not because the world is asking for it, but because you felt very strongly about products being natural. And then the second is you're going to expand categories. So those are the two, I think, big sort of things that you're currently focusing
I
on.
think it was very easy for me because I practiced that
Yeah.
from a very young age. I think I always reacted more to, agriculture. Even now, I grow my own vegetables. I don't say I do a 100% of it, but I grow
Yeah.
60-70% of
Wow.
it. Yes, I make sure that we are vegetarians, and I'm sure I'm going to put it on my LinkedIn. Hey guys, hey world, I request you to see this eating your way to extinction. Where are we going? It really bleeds my heart. So, profits are important to any company because that's what keeps an organization and a corporate running. And we have to work within those areas to be progressive and find more means of doing that without really hurting the environment.
Yeah. I think Deepa, I have last two questions for you. So I think
Okay.
I would love to know the role of family in your journey. You've had a phenomenal entrepreneurial career, and entrepreneurship is never easy. I mean, I don't think it's about male or female. It's just hard, right? Like every day is a new challenge, and I'm going through that journey right now as well. So You know,
You enjoy it,
it
can't
is.
you?
I am loving it. But I think one thing that I've come to realize is it's harder than it seems from the outside. And I'd love to know sort of what family meant for you, and you know what was the support system around you through that time, and what that means for you.
I have something to say, which I'll come to the family part later. When you see a fruit tree, right? You as an entrepreneur, can anybody see the roots? Nobody can see, because you can visualize the fruits, so you have the guts to go to the roots.
Yeah.
So you're good. Family is the most important foundation of one's being, you know, because that gives you the emotional strength, even the physical strength, and through a lot of time, the spiritual strength, And for a woman, I think these three, four combinations are more important. I'm not saying they're not important for a man, but they're, as we know, the women's biology is a little different from a man. I think, and I've had a husband. If I were to change that quotation, behind every man there's a woman, and behind every woman there's a story, but behind every woman there's also a man. In my case, it's a man, because my husband is the only person who supported me at the time when it was so shaky and vulnerable for a 24-year-old girl to believe in herself. And he said, I am there with you, you go and do whatever. That statement is forever sculpted in my head, in my soul, because if that not had happened, nothing of this today would have had happened. He's been with me 24/7 from the time he promised me those words. We have two beautiful children, and when your husband supports you, it kind of also becomes easier for you to deal with other social relationships. I wasn't that strong enough. He had to kind of, you know, um, give me that protection, because it's a very vulnerable time. That time, you're not financially strong, you're not emotionally strong, you're not career strong, you don't know what's going on. You can't just pick up a phone and Google, hey, what can I do? you know. And then we both have two beautiful children. Shreya is our daughter, eldest daughter. She's married to my very loving son-in-law, but his name is Vishal. He runs. They make beautiful stationery. They're into the pen and other related manufacturing OEMs. They both live in Mumbai. Shreya is a very important part of the whole company. She is supportive of the creative elements. She lives from Central St. Martin's. And because she's a very um, extrovert, so she handles all the like the marketing in the sense, the social media, because she's natural in it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Rishabh handles the things that me and my husband are not very keen to go with. It is the gift of the last 20 years to all of us, the whole internet, technology, Zoho, Sourcebase, and everything else that is done on this screen. So he's the guy for it. And everything else, me and Nalin and the people uh, who work for the company. Uh, so that's how this team works, and of course, the team is ever growing. So I'm thankful to all that. Yeah, because we are not good if we don't have a team to execute
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's good that your family, like within your family, you have so many complementary skill sets that sort of come together to
yeah.
build the organization. I think Deepa,
I
my
think
last
we were
question.
just blessed. We just blessed. I think, pata nahi, it just happened. We just happened because Shreya is creative. She doesn't want anything to do with numbers. Rishabh, on the other hand, wants everything to do with numbers. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Deepa, last question, and I think for a lot of the women who are watching this show, what is there any sort of one message that you want to send to them? What would be your one piece of advice for like a woman thinking about sort of taking charge and starting their own company? What would be your one piece of advice for them?
Women is the source of energy. Never underestimate yourself and do what you need to do and feel respected and just be out there. It's all there waiting for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Deepa, for your time. I think this was a lovely conversation. I learned a lot through it,
Oh, really? Come. Okay.
and I'm sure this like viewers are also going to really enjoy this podcast.